Let us continue with Jeremiah chapter 25, verses 15 to 38, which announces the Lord's judgment upon the nations. This judgment is pictured as a wine cup of God's fury where nations would stagger and reel under its power. Babylon would be the instrument of judgment. Following the judgment of the other nations, it would be Babylon's turn to receive the cup of God's wrath. This judgment of nations in history prefigures the final judgment and the great battle that will overtake the entire earth in the end times. Isaiah chapter 34 verses 2 and 3. The empire of Antichrist is described as Babylon the Great in Revelation chapters 17 to 19. In the battle of Armageddon, the Antichrist will be the leader, Revelation 19:19, and his armies would be defeated by the word of Christ, a sharp sword, Revelation 19 verses 15 and 21. The cup of God's fury, verses 15-16. Verse 15. For thus saith the Lord God of Israel unto me, Take the wine cup of this fury at my hand, and cause all the nations to whom I send thee to drink it. Wine cup of this fury at my hand is a powerful picture of the wrath and judgment of God. God stands as a bartender of judgment with a wine cup of fury in his hand. In Psalm 75:8, the wine in this cup is said to be a fully mixed red wine. Isaiah 51:17 calls it as a cup of trembling. The severity of this wine cup of God's fury is based on how much their wickedness have deserved punishment. God recompenses according to their own works and evil doings. Jeremiah is to take this cup from God and cause all the nations who were against the Israelites to drink it. Drinking the anger of God signifies extreme affliction that would be executed upon the nations far and near. We are privileged because our Lord Jesus Christ took this cup of God's fury on the cross, so we would not have to drink from that cup. Luke 22:42. Verse 16. And they shall drink and be moved and be mad because of the sword that I am sending among them. Nations would shake and tremble and reel to and fro and toss and tumble about. It's nothing but God's sword. God puts his sword in commission. Jeremiah 47:6-7. God's own sword mentioned in Genesis 3:24 could be the natural elements like lightning, fire, etc., or actual sword of human warfare. They are all instruments available to the eternal God for the accomplishment of his will. Jerusalem given the cup of staggering. Verses 17-18. Verse 17. Then I took the cup at the Lord's hand and made all the nations to drink unto whom the Lord had sent me. Jeremiah obeyed God's command. Obviously, Jeremiah could not visit all the places listed from verses 18 to 26, but in his vision, he gave it to the representatives of all those nations to drink in the message of wrath. That is, the message denouncing God's judgments upon the nations and declaring to them what would befall them. Verse 18. To wit, Jerusalem and the cities of Judah and the kings thereof and the princes thereof, to make them a desolation, an astonishment, and hissing, and a curse, as it is to this day. The expression to wit means namely. It is used in legal documents to introduce a list. Significantly, it is Jerusalem that leads the list, that is, the first nation to drink from the cup of the wrath of God. Why? Judgment begins at the house of God. 1 Peter 4:17. They are more guilty because their religious privileges were the greatest. Their judgment was afterwards firstly executed. The Babylonians stripped the Judahites of their crowns and kingdom, of their wealth, riches, and honor, and brought them into slavery and bondage, so that they became an astonishment to some and were hissed and cursed by others. As it is this day is added either because of the following reasons: 1. Of the certainty of it, or 2. Because it began to take place this very year, or 3. This clause might have been added by Jeremiah at his final revision of his prophecies in Egypt, or 4. This clause was added by Baruch or by Ezra or whoever collected his prophecies and put them into one volume. Next list of nations between Judah and Babylon who were made to drink from the cup. Verses 19 to 25. The onward march of the great conqueror giving the cup of his fury made the nations stricken with drunken madness. 4 classes of nations are to drink of this cup of the fury of the Lord God of Israel. 1. Jerusalem and Judah, verse 18. 2. Egypt, verse 19. 3. The mingled nations, verses 20 to 22. And 4. The more distant nations, verses 23 to 25. This section, identifying the judgments of God against the evil nations, is expanded in chapters 46 through 51. The judgment upon the evil nations would fall after the judgment upon Judah, and so the position of chapters 46 through 51 is chronologically fitting at the end of the book. The arrangement of the nations in this list is remarkable. The enumeration begins with the extreme south, Egypt. Next, he goes on to Uz on the southeast and the land of the Philistines on the southwest. Next, Edom, Moab and Ammon on the east, and Tyre and Sidon and the isles of the Mediterranean on the west. Next, to the far east, various Arabian nations, and then northward to Media and Elam, and finally the enumeration terminates with all the kings of the north and all the kingdoms of the world upon the face of the earth. In verse 19, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, would mean either Pharaoh Necho or Pharaoh Hophra. And his servants and his princes and all his people means his menial servants, his domestics, his nobles and all his subjects. It expresses an utter destruction of the kingdom of Egypt. In verses 20 and 24, all the mingled people are the foreigners settled in Egypt and Arabia who were not of pure Egyptian or Arabian blood, or those people who by intermarriage with other tribes had become of mixed blood. Verse 21, Edom and Moab and the children of Ammon. They are all well-known and implacable enemies of Israel. The Edomites descended from Esau, and the Moabites and Ammonites from Moab and Ammon, the 2 sons of Lot born by his daughters. In verse 22, Tyrus and Zidon are the most ancient of all the cities of the Phoenicians who occupied the coast of the eastern Mediterranean. Isles which are beyond the sea refers to the islands of Rhodes, Cyprus, Crete and other islands in the Mediterranean Sea. Verse 23, Dedan and Tema and Buz and all that are in the utmost corners. Dedan, Tema and Buz are the countries which derive their names from their founders. Dedan was a son of Abraham by Keturah, Genesis 25:3. His descendants settled in the north of Arabia, Isaiah 21:13. Tema was one of the sons of Ishmael, Genesis 36:15, whose posterity inhabited in Arabia, Isaiah 21:14. Buz, brother of Uz, descendants of Nahor, brother of Abraham, settled in Mesopotamia, Genesis 22:21, and all that are in the utmost corners. The Arab Muslims in Dedan, Tema and Buz had a different fashion of cutting their beards and heads, a style which was forbidden by God. Leviticus 19:27. Ye shall not cut the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. All such hair-fashion people in the utmost corners of the earth were included in the judgment. In verse 24, Arabia was a general name for that region occupied by the nomadic peoples descended from Ishmael and Median. All the kings of the mingled people that dwell in the desert are the people of several nations that dwelt together in the desert and had made for themselves several kings. Verse 25, and all the kings of Zimri, and all the kings of Elam, and all the kings of the Medes. Zimri, they are the descendants of Abraham by Keturah, Genesis 25:2-6, probably a district between Arabia and Persia. Elam was the son of Shem, Genesis 10:22. His descendants, the Elamites, dwelt between Media and Persia, and they were a people of great repute. The Medes came from Madai, the son of Japheth. Genesis 10:2. They are usually joined with the Persians. Daniel 5:28. Media was a very large kingdom and wealthy, abounding in all delicacies. The prophet intimates that every part of the earth, even the smallest kingdom known to the Jews, would be visited by God in judgment. Seeing this, the whole earth would become a witness that God sits in heaven as a judge. Babylon given the cup of God's wrath. Verse 26. And all the kings of the north, far and near, one with another, and all the kingdoms of the world which are upon the face of the earth, and the king of Sheshach shall drink after them. Sheshach here stands for Babylon, indicating that the judgment of Babylon would come chronologically after the judgment of the other nations. Babylon would be the last of all to drink of this cup of the Lord's fury. The reason is because Babylon was an instrument of punishment to the others before the punishment would be executed upon themselves. Even though Nebuchadnezzar was called God's servant in verse 9 and God used the Babylonians for his mission, judgment still came upon them for their own sins. Sheshach is the code word for Babel. The code used for encrypting is called Adbash cipher. It is a secret mode of encrypting in which the Hebrew alphabets are transposed. The Hebrew alphabets have 22 letters. In the Adbash cipher method of encrypting, the last alphabet is used for the first and the last but one is used for the second and so on. Thus the letters Shin is put for Bath and Kaf for Lamed. So the letters SH becomes B and CH become K. So SHSHCH become BBL or Babel or Babylon. Jeremiah 51:41 confirms this. Why did Jeremiah use the code word Sheshach for Babylon? Jeremiah's intention was to inform the Jews in Babylon about this prophecy. But the king of Babylon was at this time their enemy. Since there were chances that this prophecy might be read by the Babylonians and might be known to the king of Babylon, out of fear, Jeremiah could not write plainly enough this judgment. This was why Babylon was encrypted. Judgment upon Babylon will be brought about by Cyrus, the king of Persia. The nations must drink the cup. Verses 27 to 29. In verse 27, be drunken and spew are the metaphors set forth vividly and impressively to show the helplessness of the people under the divine inflictions. The prophet, that his predictions might have a greater authority, is here introduced as a herald of the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, denouncing ruin on all the nations. Though the Lord is the Lord of armies above and below, and the sovereign of the whole universe, in a special and peculiar manner, he is the God of Israel. Therefore, the epithet is given, the God of Israel. Verse 28, and it shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at thine hand to drink, then shalt thou say unto them, thus saith the Lord of hosts, ye shall certainly drink. Of course, no person or no nation can refuse to drink the cup of the wine of the wrath of God. Judgment could not simply be avoided by denial or positive thinking. The judgments denounced are irreversible and inevitable. They should certainly drink. There is no way that they can escape. In verse 29, the city which is called by my name. This is God's beloved, Jerusalem, which should be the first to be given to destruction. Judgment begins at the house of God. 1 Peter 4:17. Then God punishes the others. If God spares not the city in which he has chosen a temple for himself, how can he spare aliens who have so grossly sinned and to whom God has never made any covenant? If then the green tree is consumed, how can the dry remain safe? This is the import of the passage. God would judge them with a figurative cup but a literal sword. The ruin upon all the inhabitants of the earth will be brought upon by the king of Babylon, who will fight under the banner of God as his hired soldier to execute his vengeance upon them. This sword, though wielded by the hand of man, is not yet called forth by the will of man, but by the hidden power of God. The prophecy leaps to the end of age when Jesus Christ would return and destroy all nations that oppose him at Armageddon. Amos 3:2, Revelation 16:14 to 16, Revelation 19:11 to 21. The Lord's controversy with the nations, verses 30 to 33. Verse 30. Therefore prophesy thou against them all these words, and say unto them, The Lord shall roar from on high, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. He shall mightily roar upon the habitation. He shall give a shout as they that tread the grapes against all the inhabitants of the earth. The metaphor of roaring is sufficiently common, but God adopted this hyperbolic mode of speaking to reprove their stupidity. Since the people were deaf to God's words, he exceeds the limits of moderation and introduces him as a roaring lion. He shall give a shout as they that tread the grapes. This is a triumphant shout of the treaders of the grapes, rejoicing and triumphing in the vintage, to encourage one another to cheerfully continue their work and to rouse themselves to diligence. There will be an element of righteous and victorious joy of God at his judgment when God would crush the nations of the earth in his avenging wrath. This anticipates the tribulation judgments in the end times described in Revelation chapters 6 to 19 and Isaiah 63:3. The Lion of the tribe of Judah will roar terribly to announce his intent to attack his enemies. Joel 3:16, Amos 1:2, Amos 3:8. The whole world will be filled with terror and confusion. Isaiah 16:9. Nations will be crushed into the great winepress of the wrath of God. Revelation 14:19-20. Verse 31. A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth, for the Lord hath a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith the Lord. After having been quiet and still for so many ages without giving any symptoms of his vengeance, God now raised his voice. His judgment would cause clamor worldwide. A noise shall come up even to the ends of the earth, wars and rumors of wars everywhere, till the cup has gone around and all the nations have drunk of it, and have felt the power of the divine wrath for their sins. God would judge everyone in a lawsuit because he holds them guilty. A controversy is a suit at law. God will enter into a judicial process with them. He will litigate the point with them and try it openly, that it may be seen who is right and who is wrong according to the strict rules of justice and equity. Romans 2:5. He will give them that are wicked to the sword, recompensing their own work and evil doings. Verse 32. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation, and a great whirlwind shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. If God makes known his power in a great whirlwind, how great would the consequences be? A whirlwind that blows from the coasts of the earth comes suddenly and devours. God's instrument Nebuchadnezzar is compared to a whirlwind. Jeremiah 4:13. God's judgment shall not be restricted to Judah. It shall pass from nation to nation until all has been fulfilled. No distance shall prevent the fulfillment. In verse 33, we see God's wrath extended to the extremities of the earth, and many slain at the Lord's appointment from one end of the earth unto the other end of the earth. God amplifies the atrocity of the judgment and the numerous slain by saying that there would be none left to lament for, or gather them, or to bury the dead. Jeremiah 16:4. This ghastly picture is almost beyond comprehension. Nevertheless, it fits the description of judgment found in the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 19 verses 11 to 18. When Babylon took Jerusalem, there was no time to bury the dead. They were left for the vultures and the wild animals. The book of Revelation is speaking of the same thing on a more massive scale. It will be even on a global scale. The anger of the Lord against the shepherds, verses 34 to 38. Verse 34. Howl ye shepherds and cry, and wallow yourselves in the ashes, ye principal of the flock. For the days of your slaughter and of your dispersions are accomplished, and he shall fall like a pleasant vessel. Shepherds are the princes and chief men. The principal of the flock are the great and wealthy men. Wallow yourselves means cover yourselves as thickly with ashes as one who rolls in them when in the utmost distress. Jeremiah 6:26, Ezekiel 27:30. Judgment is denounced against the shepherds and the principal of the flock. They are called to shriek and roll. For the days of your slaughter and of your dispersions are accomplished. The time is come when they who ate the fat of the flock and were nourished up for slaughter should be slain. Like a choice piece of pottery, these nations would fall and break apart. Their past excellency shall not render them safe now. Their desirableness and excellency would not secure them from destruction. Their ruin would be irretrievable. The terribleness of the unrepentant people has come. Verse 35. And the shepherds shall have no way to flee, nor the principal of the flock to escape. The shepherds and the principal of the flock will be the first objects for slaughter. Their enemies would be so numerous, powerful, and watchful that they would be unable to flee and escape. Neither the dignity of their persons, nor the greatness of their power, nor the abundance of their riches would make a way for them. Amos 2:14. Verse 36. A voice of the cry of the shepherds and an howling of the principal of the flock shall be heard, for the Lord hath spoiled their pasture. The shepherds and the principal of the flock enjoyed power and dignity, but now they would be deprived of all these benefits. God has spoiled their pasture as a punishment for their sins. A great outcry of shepherds and an howling of the principal of the flock will be heard on seeing the pitiable condition of the pastures where they once fed secure. Verse 37. And the peaceful habitations are cut down because of the fierce anger of the Lord. The peaceful habitations are the places where they dwelt in peace, prosperity, and security. Isaiah 32:18. These places would be cut and laid waste. They would become desolate. Sin is the cause of God's wrath and fierce anger. This in turn would cause the destruction of men and their habitations. Though their tents had been peaceable, yet they could not be exempted from destruction at the indignation of God's wrath. In verse 38, covert means lair or a den. A lion who leaves his lair is looking for something to kill and eat. The oppressor refers to the agents of God's judgment. The Lord in judgment is pictured as a lion coming from his covert against the shepherds and the flocks. Whatsoever country he comes into with his army will be desolate. Those who refuse to surrender to and embrace God as a liberator will know him instead as the oppressor. Jeremiah chapter 25, questions and answers.